Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Check-In. Hope you're having a great start to your Saturday so far. I saw someone in the chat already saying that they enjoy Saturday afternoon shows. So do we.
Yeah, James Robinson actually said he enjoys the Saturday afternoon shows because he doesn't have to get through the company protocols.
I don't know if we need to out him for that.
It's in the chat group.
All right, fine.
Does anyone know? James, where do you work? Just tell your bosses. Don't worry about it.
I'm Sarah Lesky. He's Jamie Thomas. So happy to have you join us today as we get you set for the third and final, unfortunately, regular season meeting of the season between the Minnesota Wild and Winnipeg Jets. It is always a good one, as we discussed throughout the week. This is the team that all of you feel is their biggest rival, which I think kind of goes without saying for most people now. So it should be a great one here inside Canada Life Center. The final home game before the holiday break.
Right. And we got a packed show because it's like pretty much mail it in Saturday for us. So we were letting our guests do all the heavy lifting tonight. Or today. So coming up with today's show, Joe Smith from The Athletic. We'll talk about the Wild. Sean Reynolds from Hockey Night in Canada, who is hosting tonight's game on TV. And then Kevin He signed his entry-level contract with the Jets earlier this week, has had a great season so far with the Niagara Ice Dogs. He'll join us later in the show. And, Dylan DeMello. We'll also talk with Sarah a little bit earlier in the show.
Yeah, so lots to get through, lots to talk about in the next half hour. The Jets coming in off of their loss in Anaheim. They practiced yesterday for the second time this season. Minnesota comes in having played the night before. They had a loss last night at home against Utah. The Jets did not have an official morning skate today. It was an optional morning skate. There was only about 6 or so guys out. What we can tell you, Connor Hellebuck is set to start this evening. No surprise there, and there will be a change on the back end.
Yeah, so Logan Stanley blocked a shot in Anaheim, so he will not be available for tonight's game and Monday afternoon. So in comes Ville Heinola for his 9th game of the season. He'll be pairing with Colin Miller on that last or that third defense pairing. And if you're wondering about this hat, it is the holiday game. So in Jets Gear stores today, you grab one of these bad boys before the holiday starts or for your Christmas parties. They're a lot of fun. Also, there's another option as I peel this one off. This one's looser, actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that. You're so festive.
I'll wear this one for the rest of the show.
You're so festive. Just 3 points separating the Jets and the Wild in the standings. The Wild having played one game fewer, though, but Winnipeg having won 7 straight against Minnesota. So a couple of quick home record for you for the Jets: 11-3-1. They do love playing at home. They're 8-3 in divisional matchups. Minnesota 12-2-3 on the road. So they have been a strong team, but having played last night, we'll see what they have in store for us today.
Well, so Minnesota loses to the Utah Hockey Club. Utah's playing really well as of late, but their star players like the Kirill Kaprizovs played a lot of minutes. I think Kaprizov played around 25 minutes. So one of the questions we're going to ask Joe Smith when he joins us here momentarily is how much is left in the gas tank. And on top of that, Scott Arniel pointed that out today in his media availability, is that this is the time where the Jets have to get off to a good start, because that is something that has kind of not been going well for them is their first periods. They had a tough one in San Jose, and they had a really tough opening period, and we'll say first 2 periods for that matter, against the Anaheim Ducks. And if it wasn't for Eric Comrie, could have been a lot worse against the Ducks. But I'll tell you something right now. I think that is going to be a point of focus for the Winnipeg Jets tonight against Minnesota.
Absolutely. We always have a question of the day for you in line with the holidays. So
yes,
it's not hockey related.
No.
But the reason that we're asking is that I saw on social media that the Pittsburgh Penguins players were asked the age-old question that comes up every holiday season.
All the time.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? That is our question.
We are hitting you hard today.
That's right. That is our question of the day.
Yeah.
What I found fascinating, and actually I'd love to ask Jets players next season,
right,
is whether or not they feel Die Hard is a Christmas movie, or ask them
the
holiday-related questions. The majority of players from the Penguins answering that they hadn't seen it, which is really, I know that they're young.
So you think you have a great idea for content,
and then they say,
they totally screw you over on that one.
So. I personally believe it is a holiday movie. We watch it every Christmas.
Yeah, it goes without saying. There's Christmas involved. There's snow falling. So
we watched it the other night.
See?
Anyways, this is answer the question for us.
Yeah.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, you know what? We should ask Joe Smith, who's been so kind to join us. He wrote a great article last night after the loss to the Utah Hockey Club. So Joe Smith from The Athletic joining us now in a tremendous toque as well. Joe, question to you first. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
It absolutely is, and so is Rocky Four.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes. Thank you very
not the
much.
sentimental one you think about, but
Yeah.
Rocky Four, where they ended the Cold War over Christmas. So I think that
Right.
was a
Rocky
Christmas
did it all
movie.
by himself.
Yeah. If I can change, you can change. We all can change.
Great speech. You can go home now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Joe, for the second time this season, the Wild come in having played the night before. They lost last night against Utah. Jamie was just talking about some of the heavy minutes that a number of players played. How much do you think is left in the tank going into this game here today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where they know how important it is to get points out of this one. Losing 5 out of 7 and 3 in a row. This is their first bit of adversity or bit of a tough stretch that they've had in this kind of surprising start to their season. It took 32 games for them to lose back-to-back in regulation, which was pretty impressive. But now, they're in a place where last night they felt they deserved to get at least a point with the way that they played. They just ran into a hot Utah team that had great goaltending and opportunistic. So, this would be a huge character win for the Wild if they can pull it off, even though it's not usually a favorable place for them to play. And Winnipeg has been terrific this year. So, plus you have a young goaltender in Jesper Wallstedt, making one of his few NHL starts. It'll be a tough one. I think having the fact that they had this rough couple of weeks, I think they know how important coming in and having a great performance will be. So we'll see. I think they'll definitely try to empty the tank, knowing how a division game and a game that would mean a lot more, considering their struggles against some of the best teams in the Western Conference.
Now, you also mentioned a little bit of the struggles the Wild have ran into, but a part of your article that you wrote last night was the message in the dressing room is urgency, not panic.
Yeah, and I'm sure you saw the more viral comment, from Marcus Foligno, at least they're not Buffalo, and so it feels like it could be, and I think, and I know him as a guy who's, from there, played there. I think his point is like they're still in second place in the division. Teams go through these kind of losing streaks every year. Every team goes through it. It's often harder when you go through the beginning of the season and the end of the season, and so they have both some cushion. But I think what their point is that they know that they're doing a lot of good things, that eventually those kind of performances will turn into wins. But they also know they can't just rely on just, hey, it'll happen next game. They have to kind of find a way to get more scoring other than from the Kirill Kaprizov line. Other guys need to step up, and the special teams that they've had a struggle with this season, that hasn't really taken away from any of the record of their victories. Now the margin for error is a little bit smaller because they're not scoring as much 5-on-5, and so when you lose the special teams battle, you often lose the game if you can't score as much 5-on-5. So things to improve upon, but they know it's not the end of the world. They know they're a part of a funk. They just need to get out of it.
I feel as if every time we discuss a Wild Jets matchup, Kaprizov always comes up, and rightfully so, with the way that he's been playing and the damage that he has done against the Jets on numerous occasions as well. In your mind, with the way that he's continued to play through the first half of this season, if we were to look ahead as to Hart front runners, in your mind, should he be one?
I think he absolutely should be one. I mean, if you look at all the predictions before the season, there are people that were picking the Wild to be 7th in the Central Division, and so I think if you have a team that makes the playoffs or is top 2 spots in the Central Division, it'd be hard to argue against Kaprizov and what he means to this team. There's guys that are having terrific seasons, the Jack Eichels of the world, and he's not the only candidate out there. But considering what happened last year to the Wild and how important he is to this team and what people thought the Wild could be this year, for them to be in a top portion of the Western Conference says a lot to his impact. They have not scored the last 14 periods. They haven't had a goal where Kaprizov was not on the ice. So that's kind of where its importance lies, and probably maybe too much recently, but that just shows kind of how he kind of stirs his drink for them right now.
Joe, appreciate the time. Happy holidays to you, and enjoy your break, and we'll see you after in the new year.
Sounds great, guys. Have a good one. Merry
Thanks so much
Christmas.
for making time for us.
Die Hard's
No
Christmas
problem.
movie.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Take care. All right. From
Just
one guest to another. but
Quickly
you got something
before,
to say.
just quickly before we bring in Sean with Kaprizov. 13 games he's played against the Jets.
Yep.
6 goals, 19 points. He currently not too shabby. Currently leads the league in even strength points, 6 multi-point games. He's second in the league in road points. So certainly somebody that has made his presence felt, not just against Winnipeg Jets in Winnipeg Jets games, but also just against the league as a whole.
Well, somebody else likes to make their presence felt.
Let's
on a
ask him
daily
the question.
basis.
Let's ask him the question
Yeah.
of the day as well.
He'll have something witty to say about this one. No pressure, Sean. Die Hard, Christmas movie, yes or no?
No.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Okay. Listen, I've got
your
a
answer's
great
wrong, so we
I've
hope
got a-
that your Saturday gets
I've-
better. at some
I've got a
point.
great explanation for this. It's
Okay.
Christmas movies are supposed to be like Full House. There's supposed to be a lesson at some point in your Christmas movie and you learn something. You don't learn anything from Die Hard other than you don't mess with Bruce Willis. That's the only lesson that comes out of that. And listen, you don't just not mess with Bruce Willis at Christmas time. That's a year-round thing. So if it was just he came out at Christmas time and kicked a little bit of butt, then that would make it a Christmas movie. But there's no lesson to be learned. You need that sappy music to come in at the end of Full House, and you need to learn a lesson from your Christmas movies. There's no lesson to be learned in Die Hard.
But I thought after Bruce Willis saved the day, his marriage was came back together. So isn't that a lesson that if you go out and you save the day, that you can save your marriage no matter how much is in shambles? That's a lesson.
You just got to drop someone off of the top of what's it, Nakiyomi Tower or whatever it is to save your marriage. I mean, she's asking a lot, Jamie. That's asking a lot.
I don't know. I learned a lot from watching Die Hard. A lot of different scenarios that if I am ever in that situation, got to the question, do you think that I asked my family, I was like, do you think that I could be the female equivalent of Bruce Willis if we were in that scenario?
I would love to see that.
What does that have to do with Christmas?
That's a good point.
Okay, Nicholas has got a good one. The lesson is keep your shoes on during your plane ride.
There you go. There you go.
All right. The reason why we brought you here is to ask you about the game tonight, to which you are host of the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast. Nikolai Ehlers played on Wednesday in Anaheim. What did you think of his return to the lineup, and what more should we expect from him tonight?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. We're sitting here. He assists the first goal of the game, and yet we've kind of been talking about how he looked a little bit rusty. I think we're saying that because he says it himself, felt like he was a little rusty. His coach says it as well. It's one of the things that I was kind of digging into yesterday with him. Jamie, you and I were standing beside each other. But when you talk about fast players, I've always heard these fast players, when you talk about their game, Marty St. Louis did a great explanation of it when we did that Habs game last week, and he said, like, star players, that you have to have fast feet, or if you have a speed game, you have to have fast feet. You got to be able to skate fast, but you have to be able to have the kind of hands that can keep up with that, and you have to have the kind of brain that thinks the game. And so if you're a fast player, it's not just one thing you got to get up to speed. It's those three things. Scott Arneal, when we chatted with him afterwards, talked a little bit about how he thought Ehlers, he could see on the bench, he was kind of focusing in on, okay, I'm supposed to be here in this system. I'm supposed to cover this guy here. And he's like, these fast players need to be free flowing. So I think the mind needs to be opened up a little bit for Nick Ehlers to get him back to what we saw before. That said, I thought it was a great start for him. And I think that this is a real good sign for the Winnipeg Jets, because they, like the Wild, have been kind of really leaning on Kaprizov. No doubt about it. The Jets have been leaning on their top line offensively for a long time now. I think they've factored in on one of those three players has factored in on the 18 of the Jets' last 29 goals, and 2 of the goals they didn't factor in on were empty net goals. So they've been leaning on those players. Ehlers, if he can kind of unlock that second line again, I think that just makes them that much more dangerous. And I think it unlocks offense for the third line, because now your opposition needs to really start focusing in on shutting down not only the top line, but Nikolai Ehlers. And then I think that seems to free up that third line to do the thing they do when they get rolling offensively.
Sean, what are you watching for in the first period? Obviously, the Jets have been slow out of the gate, and we haven't seen the same sort of production from them early on in the games over the last little bit as what we had earlier on in the season. What will you be watching to see?
Well, I always think when teams are slow out of the gates, a lot of times it's just a matter of getting pucks on the net. It sounds really simplistic, but if you are a player on the Jets and you fire the puck at the net, and if Jamie, you and I are playing on a line, Sarah, and you throw the puck towards the net, one of or both Jamie and I, it's our job to get to the net. So if you put it there, I have to get skating to go get to that spot where the puck is going. And I just think that by the virtue of doing that, it kind of gets your mind right in the area of like, okay, let's get some rubber on the net. Let's start challenging them here. But it also forces you to get to the net as quickly as you possible, which I think gets your feet moving. So the Jets, we know it's been like this, not just this year. They've been a team like this for a long time. Paul Maurice used to talk about it back in those days, about like trying to convince them to get back to the net. Because the Jets are so capable and their best players are so capable of scoring the kind of goals that we saw Mark Scheifele score last game, where they can just get that one opportunity and set up that really pretty goal and it's in the back of the net. There's always a temptation for them to focus on quality over quantity. I think that they could work on that mix a little bit. And I think that their head coach thinks the same thing. Just get some more rubber on the net. You can't be getting outshot and only have 4 points in the first period and the second period. This team's too good to be doing that. But I think they're doing it to themselves. They're just being far too selective. They need to just get the puck to the net more. I think it's that simple.
Okay, well, looking forward to you on the broadcast tonight. One last one before you let you go. So you are star of the show, Kenny and Rennie.
Yes.
Pick up most of the show.
Yes.
Why did you decide? And I feel the same way about this. How did you end up in second place in the naming of the show?
Well, while I may be the star of the show, I've got my ego in check, Jamie. But
Right.
Ken Weeb does not.
It's great to see someone does.
Yeah,
There you go. But I'm
I have
telling you,
way more seniority, but that's okay. But carry on.
I don't know that Ken could have handled being second place. So for the greater good of the podcast, I named it that way to make sure that it could survive and that Ken's ego could escape in check. Now, that said, John Garrett, who's calling the game tonight, is going to come on Kenny and Rennie afterwards. And he on multiple occasions on live television on Hockey Night in Canada has referred to it as the Rennie and Kenny podcast. So I think for tonight, we may just flip it around. We'll see if Ken's ego can handle it.
Well, the funny part is it was John Garrett that brought that up to Kenny. He's like, why is your name first when Rennie's on the show the most? So you guys are going to have a lot of fun with that tonight. So
it'll be good. Yes,
okay, buddy. Merry Christmas to you, and we'll have a great holidays, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great broadcast tonight.
You bet. Merry Christmas to the both of you.
Sean Reynolds hosting tonight's game. It is on Sportsnet. It is a 6:00 start here at Canada Life Center. So great of Sean to join us. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, Kenny and Rennie, they always do it after every game.
Yeah.
You can go there to be able to debrief and have a conversation. We know a number of you that are in our chat here today also are regulars with Kenny and Rennie, which I know they appreciate. Great guys.
So we like to do things in big here.
Big
on
huge.
check-in. So our next guest is coming up. So I like, before we bring him in, let's put the big board. Make this look fancy. There it is. Kevin He, first Chinese-born player to sign an NHL contract. He is a Winnipeg Jet prospect. And he is our next guest here on the check-in. And there's Kevin He. So just before we get going here, Kevin, your good friend Luke Vink made that graphic, so I would be crazy to not put it up. He did a great job, and he's doing a great job here. Tell us a little bit about Luke. Can you tell us an embarrassing story about Luke Vink before we get started here?
No, I don't have any embarrassing stories, but Luke, for all I've known, is one of the most hardworking guys, and he deserves everything that's happened to him. So I was, super excited when he made the move to Winnipeg, and I wish nothing but the best for him.
He is a great guy. Then speaking of exciting, hardworking, describes you to a T. Give us an idea of what this week has been like for you. What has the reaction been like? What have you been dealing with since being able to sign this entry-level contract with the Jets?
Yeah, my phone's been blown up nonstop.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just received a tremendous amount of support from my teammates, staff. I remember my billet family made a little celebration for me, so it was a pretty surreal week for me.
Let's talk a little bit about, you were named captain earlier this year. Has anything changed in your game or the way that you approach each game or walking into the dressing room with your teammates since you were named captain of the Ice Dogs?
No, I don't think just me being named the captain has changed anything. I think I've been the same person I've always been for the last 3 years, and I've always come in with the same approach, and that's just to give all I got every single day.
Someone else is giving a lot right now is one of your best buddies, Kieran Walton, and also a fellow Jet prospect. What can you say about his season so far? And you've been keeping an eye on one of your best friends.
Yeah, he's been obviously had a great season, and I saw him at the game I played against him in Sudbury, and he's been doing really well. So I'm really happy for him.
What else? Like, I mean, what has this year been like? A lot has happened. And when you think about, you've been named captain, you were drafted by the Jets, you were followed around by the NHL cameras at the draft. There's just a lot has happened in a short amount of time. Have you been able to sit back and take in everything that's happened to you so far this year?
No, not really. I think still kind of mind blown about what happened this week, and but I've been just trying to get my focus back to being with my family now, just enjoying the break.
Have you responded to all the text messages?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I've tried. There's still a
Nice.
few I still need to, but I've tried for the most part.
Well, Kevin, congratulations to you. Thank you so much for doing this. And I know you got a busy schedule in front of you. Have a great holiday season with your family. And again, congratulations. We're looking forward to seeing you in the new year.
Very much
Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.
That is Kevin He joining us.
Such a nice.
He's a lot, like,
Nice
honestly,
young man.
one of the most polite people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And always gives you a handshake when you meet him. Him and Luke are good buddies. So it's kind of funny how, so you think about this. He's great friends with Kieran Walton. They both get drafted to the Jets this year. Great friends with Luke. Luke gets hired by the Jets. They draft him, after Kevin was drafted. So a lot of things tying in, a lot of familiar faces around the Jets organization for Kevin He. And man, he has been so impressive this year. And along with Kieran Walton, who's been lighting up. I invite you guys to go to Twitter. Go to the Sudbury Wolves page. X. Apologies. Go to X. Go to the Sudbury Wolves Twitter X page.
Yep.
He scored a great goal last night. Highlight reel, end to end. It is unbelievable. A guy that size can move as well as he can, and the future is bright, certainly for the Winnipeg Jets at this point.
And awesome. And great that he was able to fit us in.
Well, here's the best part. Luke got him.
Wow.
I went above the GM and the PR department, so I went to Luke. I said, "Can you just text Kevin and tell him?"
Can you please?
Yeah. So Luke Vink is now Kevin He's agent.
There you go.
Congratulations, Luke. You didn't even know that.
That's right. 11 games on the schedule tonight. The Jets have won 7 straight against Minnesota. One of the things that we heard coming out of the Minnesota dressing room after their loss was, and Joe touched on it when he spoke with us to give us a little bit of the Wild perspective, is that the Wild are needing more 5-on-5 goals.
Right.
Tell me if you've heard that before, because that's certainly been a narrative that we've heard a little bit with the Jets recently as well. These two teams always create memorable games one way or another.
Yeah, they do. And it's, we'll go back to the last game. It was the Connor Hellebuck show.
Yeah.
And I think now we can sit there and look at the Jets season so far and literally point to the game against Colorado here, the 1-0 shutout win, and then the 4-1 win over Minnesota in St. Paul as the 2 times that Connor Hellebuck's had to steal a win this year for the Jets. And that's everything that team has been trying to change over the past 3 years, and it certainly has come to fruition with just those 2 games that we can think. The fact that we can only think of 2 games says everything about how well the Jets have played this year, for the most part.
Yeah, just 3 points separating them in the standings. There have been discussions, obviously, about some of the hurdles that the Jets have been dealing with recently, and whether that be some players being injured, Dylan Sandberg, who that's obviously had a very significant impact on them, which, good news, there is the possibility that as soon as December 27th, Scott Arniel said, we could see Sandberg at least back on the ice in terms of starting to skate. We'll see whether or not it's able to come to fruition, but at least there's a tentative timeline as to when we could. But we see a number of teams right now in the Central Division in particular, because that's what we pay the most attention to, that have just had those hurdles. It's a long season. 82 games is a long stretch, especially with the condensed schedule that we're seeing right now because of 4 nations. You look, Winnipeg 5-4-1 in their last 10 games, Minnesota 5-5, Dallas 5-5. So everybody, you're never going to
run the table
the whole way through.
Well, that's
it's about responding to the adversity, which Joe said, I mean, Minnesota's getting really its first taste of, and the Jets are dealing with as well. Well,
just think, so Troy Terry scored the game-winning goal the other night in Anaheim, said that was the best game the Ducks had played all year, which tied to the next question from Kelly Moore. This was yesterday to Dylan DeMello about facing the other team's best night in and night out because of your historic start. And Dylan have responded with the fact that, this is a challenge for us. This is good for us, the type of adversity we need to face, knowing that we're getting the other team's best. That should make our game go up a little bit. And Dylan DeMello also talked to you today on the Jets bench.
He did.
He did. And we're going to play that for you right now.
At home before the holiday break. You guys still, though, obviously have that game in Toronto as well before the official break. You come home. What is the key to resetting and getting into the win column tonight?
Just play our game. Make sure that our details are right, our structure's right. We're playing fast, and we have a good start. And just play our game. I think we got away from it against Anaheim there, and gave up a little bit too much than we like to give up, and didn't really have our A game. So just looking to get that back tonight.
For a fast start, what are you looking for? What goes into that?
Kind of just everything that I kind of alluded to. Just playing our game, making sure that our details are right, our structure's right, make sure that we have a shooter's mindset, and that we're attacking, on the forecheck and attacking the net.
I think a lot of Jets fans look at the Wild as being the biggest rival that this team has. How do you describe games that exist between these two teams? And in some ways, it's very unfortunate that this is the final regular season game already between you two teams.
Yeah, I think two excellent teams. Two teams that usually bring out the best in each other because you need your best to beat both teams. So. They're having a fantastic season. A lot of guys having really good years, on pace for career years. So, it's I don't know. I think maybe them having the playoff series added to it, a few years ago, whenever that was. So, you have teams that are close in proximity as well. I think that just kind of all adds to the flair.
A lot of people attention to the standings all throughout the year. Obviously, the Jets leading the way in terms of points and wins. Or are you a guy that pays attention to the standings throughout the season?
Yes and no. Probably closer to when seeds kind of reveal themselves. For me, I'm just worried about our game and how we're playing, and usually the results take care of themselves from there. But it's all about making sure that our game is right and looks good.
What are you looking forward to about the holiday break?
Time off for sure. It's been a really it's been a heck of a schedule. It's been hard on the body. It's been hard on the mentals for sure. I think I had a lot of obviously personal stuff. Well, having a new son in the fold and that family dynamic. So I'm looking forward to being able to spend time because we've been on the road a lot this year. November basically wasn't home. That second half of the month. So looking forward to just spending some time with family and get a little R&R and hopefully Santa's good to us and we get some get some presents for the kiddos and just enjoy the family time because right after that we're back on it again.
Enjoy the holidays. Thanks for the time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Man, that was a good interview.
One of my
That was some of your best.
Oh, enough.
Some of your best. Here, I'll give you a hat. Merry Christmas. There you go.
Just a reminder, Christmas hats available at Jets Gear stores if you haven't gotten yours already. Dylan DeMello, I think everybody on the Jets looking forward to having a few days off. They play tonight, 6:00, of course. Then they have to hop on a plane tomorrow because they play Monday. It is an afternoon game. So set up Monday, we are going to go at 10:30 Central is going to be our check-in show to get you ready for it. Great news is that we are going to go from 10:30 to 11. And then I believe Winnipeg Sports Talk is going to go on at 11.
Isn't that nice of them to ask us when we were going on Monday just to see how it all fits in? So we let them know that we're going to lead into their show this time. So
so looking for.
I always do lead.
We always do. Well, math isn't your strong suit, but
no, it is not.
So
especially when I look like somebody.
Look forward to it, but also great news. In addition to that, on Monday's show, as well as next Saturday's show, the 28th. We are going to be giving away 2 pairs of tickets to the New Year's Eve game because the Jets play at home on New Year's Eve. They are in Colorado, but they are home on December the 30th, a game against Nashville. We'll give away 2 pairs of tickets on Monday's show and then 2 pairs of tickets on Saturday's show as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like giving away the free tickets.
We just have one more show before the holiday break. What are you going to do for a few days without this?
I'm going to be checking in. Sarah, what are you doing? What's going on?
We appreciate Sarah doesn't want to mess her hair. Well, no, to be honest, here's what it is. And any of the women
pulled back tighter than this toque is right now. So I don't know.
Any of the women will be able to tell you that sometimes if you have makeup on, you don't want it to transfer onto the nice hats. So that
Kenny's water bottle. Here we go. See, Kenny's paying attention. This is a good one. Sarah puts interviewees at ease and gets them with the hard-hitting questions like, what are you looking forward to during the holidays?
You have to ask about the holidays. It's got kids.
Especially with DeMello. Really good at that stuff. He gets it.
He's great with it.
Mhm.
So
it was a good question. I think it was a compliment, actually, because you do put people at ease.
no, enough out of it.
you
You know
do.
what? I appreciate everybody chiming in on the Christmas questions that have been going on. Is Die Hard a movie? We'll try to come up with another hard-hitting Christmas question.
Oh, it's going to be the
Movie
best
question on
ever.
Monday.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and
That's
Sean
right.
Reynolds, as well as everyone else who thinks
Is never
that it
coming on the
isn't.
show again.
That's right.
So,
That's fine.
That's fine. He came on twice.
Anyways, that is it for us today. Looking forward to the third and final meeting between the Wild and Jets. We hope that it's a great one.
Yeah, thanks for checking in.
Well, you know what?
Wait, I'll turn it off. What were we going to say? I thought you were done.
Especially on the final weekend before
Yes.
the holiday break. We know how busy everybody is. So we do appreciate it a great deal.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We'll see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend.